I'm sorry. I accidentally cut the video off, the first video off. I meant to push pause, but it was a mistake. And so, yeah, we moved to Southfield, Michigan, and I ended up going to Southfield High. And, excuse me, long story short, I didn't like it. The kids there were, you know, very grown acting and very vulgar and just very... I just really wasn't used to it. Like, everyone was very aggressive there and loud, and I just wasn't used to it. It made me uncomfortable. And, like, you know, anyone with social anxiety will tell you, like, when you're, well, for me, I know especially, like, when I'm around big crowds of people, I get very, like, I get nervous, and I just want to just flee. I just want to get away from it. I just want to avoid it as much as possible. The school was huge. It was a huge school, huge. And I just couldn't deal with it. I don't know, just thinking about it makes me uncomfortable. I couldn't deal with it. And I remember, I had skipped the whole first month. We had started school in September. I skipped the whole September, basically. I skipped school. And I remember my mother ended up having a meeting with the counselor there and with my counselor, and she was basically telling my mother how I skipped school and how many days I skipped school and how I was late to a few of my classes and how sometimes I skipped some of my classes, and she was just telling me, the counselor was just telling me, you need to come to school or you could get in trouble for this and all that. But in my head I was like, whatever, I don't care. I just didn't care because I didn't want to go to the school. But my mother was just like, go to school. And my dad had already roughed me up about it. So basically the whole family knew about it, that I was skipping school. So I had to go. And so I went to school like 9 days in October. And I remember one day I had went to my English class. And there was this guy in there. He was so ignorant. He was like the class clown. And he was just in there doing what they call roasting people. Just basically finding any random person in the classroom and just saying something bad about them, trying to hurt their feelings. Just say something, just to talk about the person, just saying anything that they could think of about them, just to make the other people in the class laugh so that he could be popular, I guess. And so I guess he said something to me, and mind you, I was always quiet in the classroom, so I never really spoke to anyone in the classroom except like people who I felt comfortable with. And you know, you could kind of tell based off of, you know, people's auras, because I could kind of pick up on that kind of stuff too. Like, if I feel like someone has a gentle spirit and I feel like they're not judgmental and that they are not like overly aggressive and negative, and you know, a person like that, then if I feel comfortable enough, I would talk to someone like that. But if I feel like if it's someone who's very outspoken and constantly, you know, aggressive, and I mean, nothing's wrong with being outspoken, but I'm talking like in the negative way, like always has something bad to say about something, then I'll steer away from that person. So he decided to say something about me. I don't know if anyone has watched this show, but I know a lot of people have. But it's this show called Flavor of Love. And Flavor Flav was the star of it. It was a reality show. And it was an episode where this girl called Something, her name was Something. I believe that was her name. Something? I think. And I think she pooped on the steps. And so the guy said, look at her, she looked like Something off of Flavor of Love. And I didn't say anything to him, but some of the people laughed. But then this one girl who I was cool with, she was telling him, shut up, you know, she just stood up for me, told him to shut up and that he sound ignorant. But after that, I never went back to that school, never ever went back. And it was always constantly crowded there. I hated lunch. I absolutely hated lunch. I hated lunch, and I would try to like get something small to eat for lunch, like a bag of chips, something that I could eat standing up. And so I rarely ate lunch. I would get something out the vending machine, and that's it. And so then it's a lot of stuff I could say, but I just want to get to the important parts. So I ended up skipping a lot of school, and I ended up getting charged with school truancy, and I ended up going to a detention center in Pontiac, Michigan called Children's Village. And I was there for a while until my judge sentenced me to somewhere. And my sister also came with me. We were sentenced for the same thing. And so he placed us in this placement called, I can't think of the name of it. But it was in Oxford, Michigan. And we went to that placement, and basically we were living in a house full of girls. There were other boys on campus. There were boys on campus, but they lived in their own separate houses with their own staff and everything. And so there were 2 girl houses. The houses were big houses. It was like in the middle of nowhere, like with a whole bunch of woods around us, and like by barns and all that crap. And it was well water there that we had to drink. It was like, ugh. But it was just, we would have group meetings and talk about our issues, and we had a counselor there that would talk to us about our issues that we could vent to, and they would give us goals to work on so that we can get out the program. And so me and my sister, throughout our whole childhood, I was always codependent of her, and she was of me. We would not do things unless the other person did it. Like, we would do bad things together a lot of the time. And so at that point, I was trying to, steer away from that and be, a better person, trying to get away from that, trying not to get into any trouble. And I remember one day my sister got into that's getting ahead of myself. So one day my sister she ran from the place because we went to a park on Memorial Day, and her and this girl, they just went off on their own separate ways and just ran away, and the police brought them back to the house. And so she stayed there. She was just on restriction for a while. That's where you can't get any snacks or nothing like that. Anything extra, you can't get it. So they put her on that for a while. And then she, not too long after that, she got into a fight with this girl. And she got into a fight with the girl, and my sister, when she fights, she's picking up things. She's gonna go wild. She's gonna hit anybody in her way. That's how it is when she gets in a fight. And she's taller than me. She's 6 feet tall. So, and she was that tall when she was she was like 14 at that time, something like that. So she was that tall at that age. And so she was swinging, and then she accidentally hit one of the staff there, the staff who were pregnant. It was a woman, and of course, and I remember I actually got angry about it and wanted to fight because my sister had ended up getting picked up by the police, and they took her back to Children's Village, the detention center, because that's basically where you go when you have to go before the judge, and then they send you somewhere else. And so they separated the girl, put the girl in a different house because they felt like I was going to be upset about it, and then that probably would have set off something else and all that. And after my sister left the program, I kind of didn't care anymore. I just didn't care about succeeding in the program. And from time to time, our caseworker, because me and my sister had the same caseworker, she would tell us, oh, you're gonna go home. But then other times she would say, you're not gonna go home, we think this is going on in your household, and things like that. And so I remember I had a day pass to go home on the weekend. They let me go home on a weekend. And so my uncle picked me up and brought me home to my mother's house. And my friend from Muskegon, she ended up coming down to Southfield. First off, I ended up not going back to the program. I stayed home, and my friend from Muskegon ended up coming to visit me. Ended up coming to stay there. And then my mother got upset about it because she didn't like that friend. She never did. And she called the police on me, and they sent me to Children's Village, and I was back at Children's Village with my sister. And then they shipped my sister to another program inside of Children's Village, because they have different programs in Children's Village. Besides the detention, they have like a program for kids who are abused. They have a program for like almost the same program that we were in Oxford, Michigan, like a girl group. Then they have a boys group. Then they have, you know, they have a lot of different things. So they sent my sister to G building, and things didn't work out there. I don't know what my sister did. And then finally they sent her to Saginaw, a program in Saginaw called St. Vincent. And I was there. I stayed at Children's Village for a while, and then they sent me to St. Vincent. And I was just always the quiet person. I never spoke to anyone. And there was a lot of craziness going on, but you know, people could see that I had a potential to be a leader, and all of the staff at St. Vincent saw that. And so I ended up getting my R&R, which is basically you get your own room, you get the extra privileges, you get to walk off whenever you want to, you don't have to just stay around the group all of the time. And so eventually, long story short, I ended up not being able to go home when I graduated the program. And one of the staff members there, his name was Mr. Pritchett, he actually offered to take me into his home. So I went to his home and lived with him and his wife. And he also took in another girl that was from the program that didn't have anywhere to go. And I remember I used to go to school there in Saginaw. I went to Heritage High School, and every day, like, I was so quiet there again. Every day I would eat lunch right outside of the gym. I would just sit down on the floor. Not one time ate lunch in the cafeteria. I ate lunch on the floor outside the gym. And sometimes it would be people who would like come and talk to me and sit down and talk to me, stuff like that. But I really didn't really care to have any friends. And sometimes Mr. Pritchett would say it's okay for me to go visit my family. So I would go visit my uncle in Detroit. And that's where I met my husband, and I got pregnant, and I ended up running away from Mr. Pritchett's house. And to this day, I still haven't called him because I'm ashamed that I left him and didn't tell him anything about it. And I remember when I was living with him, he would always say, "Don't bring home no babies." Like, I remember he would always say that. So I was kind of, you know, I was ashamed to tell him that I had got pregnant and that I had left. And all these years, I left there in 2009. All these years, I still haven't talked to him or anything. And that's where that all started. That's my childhood and my teen years. That's my childhood until I turned 18. Me and my husband got married like 5 days before our son was born. Our first son was born. And I think that's all I have to say for what happened in the beginning. Oh, and another thing, like, sometimes it would make me nervous whenever me and my sister had friends, common friends, which most of the time when I had friends, it was because it was someone my sister was friends with. Like, a lot of the times I never met my own friends. Like, so, and I did gain a friend from being in St. Vincent, being in the girls' home in Saginaw. But there's a lot of issues with that. But it used to make me nervous when sometimes my sister would say to our friends, you know, my sister is very shy. And like, even when I first would meet people and she was around, she'll tell them my sister is shy. You know, that would make you very self-conscious, because it's like, you're like, people could tell that I'm shy. Like, people could tell that it's something going on with me. And all up until this point, I always thought that I was just shy. And I always thought that I was lazy, that I didn't do any of the things that I want to do in my life. And I never knew that it was more serious than that. And I'm going to talk about that in my upcoming videos. So, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.